we were looking at select commands, right? So what all did we see? We can how to select certain columns, right? Then what is a derived column? Then using alias for a column. Sometimes. Okay, and then what else? Ordering. Arranging records we saw. And that's all. Filtering we saw. How to write conditions and multiple conditions, right? So today we will see how to group the record. Before that, there is one more operator that you can use, which is called the like operator. Right. So this is used to do what is called pattern matching. Your Python is not done, no? Okay, there you will learn about regular expressions, right? So where you can do pattern matching. Regular expression is much more flexible, but MySQL also gives you something called wildcards to do pattern matching, right? So what do we mean by pattern matching? Instead of searching for a specific value, right? For example, you are looking for somebody called Tom. Instead, if you want to search for a pattern, like I want everybody whose name starts with the T, right? So that is a generic thing, right? We are not specifically looking for Tom or Tim. I'm saying I want something that matches a particular pattern that I have in mind. For example, you might want to see if there is the email is in a proper format, right? I want to see something like this exactly. So that is where you will go for pattern matching, right? So there are two wildcard characters that are used in order to do pattern matching. One is percentage, right? Percentage matches any number of characters, including 0 characters. 0 characters in the sense no characters. Underscore matches exactly 1 character. It can be anything, but it matches exactly 1 character. Right? So these are only 2 patterns or wildcards that are supported in MySQL, but you can use it quite effectively, right? So when I say, let us say I want to find people whose names start with A. Name starts with A, right? So in that case, what I will do, I can say select star from my table where name, I have to use the like operator, like A followed by a percentage. What is percentage? It matches any number of characters, right? Let's say A, what are the names that start with A? Let's say Adam, Anu, what is it? Okay, Ananya, Ankita.
Avik.
Okay, tell me a big name. Some Argosundari or something. Right, some big names. So what that means is A followed by any number of characters will be matched by your percentage, right? So this percentage matches this percentage will match this percentage will match this, right? It will match this. If you have just A, that also will be matched. Why? Because percentage means 0 or more characters. So A may or may not be followed by any number of characters. Such a pattern will be matched by A percentage, right? So this is what we mean by pattern matching. What if I look for a name like this? What does this mean?
End with L. End with L.
I am looking for names ending with K, right? There can be any number of characters before this, but I want something that ends with A. How about this?
Anywhere between the word.
Start and end with C.
Anywhere within the word.
Anywhere within it, right? So if there is a C anywhere in the name, it could be at the beginning because this can match 0 also. It could be at the end because this can match 0 characters, or it can be somewhere in between. So if there is a character C anywhere in your name, then this will be matching, right? So this is what your pattern matching is all about. So let's try in our employee table, right? So let us say select star from my EMP, where first name like a percentage, right? Case we don't have to worry about, right? It's a small case or a large case. So you see all names that start with A are matched. Okay. Can you find names that end with A?
$16 names.
Or end with A, is it? Okay, let us see. Percentage A, right? So that will be 16 names, right? So Nina, Diana, they all have ending with A. And let's try percentage C percentage. It need not be C, but let us try that. So here you see wherever there is C, right? Bruce, Nancy, here you have C in the middle. Here you have C in the beginning, right? There is nothing ending with C, but if it is there, it will find that also. Can you see if there are any names which have two words inside it? Like something like Mary Ann or something. What is the error? Use practice TB. Right? Can you find if there are any names which have two words like this? It can be anything, right? Start with, end with, it doesn't matter. If there are words, names with two names. Did you find this? Huh? The name should have two names, like Mary Ann or Joanne. Need not be Mary Ann, I want two names. One person is there. Okay. Let's wait. How do you write that? name like percentage space percentage. Yes. So you do, what do you do? Select star where name like percentage space percentage. So that means if there is a space anywhere in the name, right? Then even if you have 3 names, it will find it. So let's see how many people there are. There is only one person, right? Which has a double name, right? So Jose or Jose or however it is pronounced, right? So this is how you can search for a pattern, right? So percentage, we know, right? It matches any number of characters. Underscore matches exactly one character, right? For example, if I say find name like J followed by 1, 2, 3, 4 underscores. What does this mean? I'm looking for 5-letter names starting with J, right? That is what it means. If I have a name like Joe, it will not be matched, right? But if I have James, this will match because J is followed by exactly 4 characters. So we are looking for 5-letter names which start with J. Each underscore can match exactly 1 character, right? So let us try that. So if I say J followed by 1, 2, 3, 4. So this gives us 5-letter names starting with J, right? ULIA, Julia, James, James, Jason, and Julia. What if I want to find only, I don't want repeated ones. I want unique names starting with J, 5-letter names. I don't want to see James multiple times. How do you find unique names, unique values from a column? Distinct, yeah. So I can say select distinct first name from my EMP, where name, first name like J 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So this will tell me Julia, James, and Jason are the 5-letter names that are there in your my EMP. All right, so now let us say you have a table with column with the name, address, phone number, and landline number, right? I want you to find all names who live in Indira Nagar, Chennai. Who are the people who live in Indira Nagar, Chennai? This is the table. Let us call it address or my tab. Name of the table is my tab. Find all people who live in Indira Nagar in Chennai. We have an Indira Nagar in Bangalore. There might be Indira Nagar in other places, but I want people who live in Indira Nagar, Chennai. What will be the command? How will your address look like? You might have 1, 2, 3, third main road, right? Indira Nagar, 5th cross, Chennai, some number, right? So how will you find the pattern? What will you write?
percent space Indira percent Chennai percent
Percent,
space,
okay.
not that one,
Yeah.
normal space, yeah, Indira, again space, again percentage, again space and Chennai and again percentage.
Okay, right. So, yeah, maybe we can do away with the spaces. But what we can do is, if I say percentage Indira Nagar, percentage Chennai, percentage. Will this find the address? What are we saying? We want Indira Nagar and Chennai to be inside this address. Right? If there is an Indira Nagar in Bangalore, that will not be matched because we want this and this to be there in your, the pattern should contain both, right? Where, yeah, like Tejas, only Indira Nagar is not enough, right? So we want to find Indira Nagar in Chennai specifically. So if there is another Indira Nagar in Bangalore, we don't want that, right? So you can use your percentage. Actually, it is quite useful, right? We may not think of it much, but this is quite useful when you're extracting information, especially from text type of data, right? So this is what we call pattern matching. And to do this, we use what is called the like operator. You have to say where address like, right? So not equal to address like this pattern. Okay. How will you write a pattern for email? If there is a column called email, sometimes people just put XYZ, right? Or not applicable or something. How do I make sure that it is in the right pattern? At should be there. So probably I can say underscore percentage at, right? Percentage or underscore percentage. If I want, I can also search specifically for .com, ending with .com. So this, if I put just percentage, even if they don't enter anything here, it will match it. So I'm saying there should be at least character, one character followed by any number of characters, then an @ symbol. This should be followed by at least one character and many characters. Then it should end with .com. Right? So you can search for specific patterns in a particular column. Right? The thing is, when we are learning it, you might remember, but later on, if somebody asks you to find something, you may not think of pattern matching. Right? But this is really useful. So yeah, so this is the like operator, right? So we have seen how to write the where clause. Wherever we are talking about the where clause only, right? Where address like, where name like. So we have seen what all operations we can do, right? So we can use the equal to, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, then like, in, then we have seen the between operator, right? So these are all different operations that you can make use of when you are writing your where clause. And when you want to combine multiple conditions, you can combine them using and, or, right? So this is how you can write your where and anywhere, right? So not just in select, if you want to do delete also, right? So delete everybody from this department earning more than so much, right? So wherever you're writing your where clause, you can use everything that you have learned till now. Okay. Fine. Any questions till now? Are we fine? Okay. Shall we move on to grouping, right? Grouping is one of the most common things that you have to do when you are doing your analysis, right? You will always be doing grouping. Whether you use Python to do this or whether you are working with MySQL, grouping is something that is very, very essential when you're doing analysis, right? So how do we do grouping of records? Right, so let us say we have a table, employee table. You have employee ID, name, and some salary, for example, right? So and department ID. Let's say employee 1, Tom, 1,500. He is in department 10. Employee 2, Mary, 2,000. She is in department 20. Employee 3, Tim, some 2,300. He is in department 10. 4, let's say Megan, $1,000, and she is in department 20. Now, if I ask you to arrange people based on the department, right? If I ask you to group people based on department, what should I do? 10, 10, and 20, 20 should come together, right? So to do that, we will say group by department ID, right? So why do we need this grouping? Yeah, I might want to do something like I want to find who's getting the maximum salary in department 10, or what is the average salary of people in each department, right? If I want to find things like that, I have to first group them, and then I can find the grouping average and all, right? So let us say my task is to find the average salary of people in the company, right? So if I want to do this, I have to find the average. I have to take all the records and then I have to find the average of that, right? So before we come to grouping of records, let's talk about what are group functions, right? So there are what are known as functions which are supported in MySQL. So when you talk about functions, you have two types of functions. You have row level functions and you have group functions, group or aggregate functions. Right? So we'll talk about functions in detail a little later, right? When we talk about how we can write our own functions, we will talk about this, right? But so there is a function called year function, right? Where I can say year of some date. And this will take out only the year part from this and it will return the value corresponding to that, right? So here I can say select hire date, set hire underscore date, comma, year of hire underscore date from my EMP, and let us limit it to 10 records. Era. What is era?
Year, ma'am.
Yeah.
You wrote year, Y-E-R-A.
Yeah, I know. Yes, right. So now let me clean this and type it properly. Right. So this is called a function, right? So this year, this is called the function, and this is called a parameter. So this function works on whatever you are passing here. So here, if you see what is happening, this year function is applied on every record. So it takes the first record takes this as input and gives you this output. Then it takes this as input and gives this as output, right? It takes this as input and this as output. So this is what we call a row level function. Why row level? The function gives an output for each and every row, right? This is taken as input and correspondingly you have an output. For every row, it will take an input, correspondingly one output is given, right? So that is called a row level function. There are many functions, right? So we will go into those later, but this is what a row level function is. But there are certain functions which doesn't make sense if you give a single value. For example, let us say I want to find the sum of something. Does it make sense to give it one value and say, find the sum of this? What is sum? You have to add up something, right? So I can't say find the sum of 10. I have to give it two numbers, then it makes sense, right? Until you give multiple values, certain methods do not make any sense. So such functions are what you call group functions, right? What else can you think of? You can find the sum. You can find the average. You can't take one value and find average, right? You need to give multiple values. Only then it will make sense to have average. Minimum, maximum, right? Count. So there is something called STD, which is the standard deviation, right? So these 6 functions are called group functions or aggregate functions. So what is the difference between group and aggregate? Aggregate function will take a set of records and give one output per group. Here you get one output per record. Here you will get one output per group. For a group of records, you get only one output. Okay. So if I say find a minimum of 10 records, the result will be just one. It will say this is the minimum record, right? This is the minimum value. So I can, how do we write this? I can say select average of salary from my EMP, right? Although there are 106 records in the table, this will give me only one value saying this is the average salary of a person in the company. So what did it do? It has taken all the 106 records, all the 106 salaries. It has found the average and it has given one output, right? For all 106 records, we got only one output. So this is what we mean by aggregating or grouping records, right? So a group of records are given as input to a function and you get an output, one output corresponding to a group. Similarly, you can find the count. Count is very commonly used, right? So how can I use the count function? Select count salary from my EMP. The thing is, usually you will not give a column name for count, right? I can count salary, I can count hire date, I could have counted EMP ID, whichever I want, I could have counted, right? So instead, what you will do, you will usually give count of star. Star stands for one record, right? So when we say select star from EMP, what are we doing? We are selecting all the columns. All columns taken together is what you call a record, right? So when you say count of star, it means give me the count of records inside your table. Okay. So usually you put star inside it. So this will give you 106. Count of star means give me the count of records inside the table. This is quite common, right? So before you say select star from table, first thing you should verify how many records are there. If you see millions of records, you won't go ahead and give count of star, right? Sorry, select star. So count of star means count of a record. You can interpret star as a record. So give me the count of records in the table, and this says there are 106 records, right? So let us see what is the minimum and maximum salary in the company. I can say select minimum of salary comma max of salary from my EMP. Right, so the minimum salary is 2,100 and the maximum salary is 24,000. Right. So this is how you can use the group function. It will take a group of records and it will give you one output. Right. Now, I don't want to see the just the average of everybody in the company. I want to know in each department what is the average salary. Right. So that I can go and join a department who's paying most. Right. So let us say I want to find the average salary in each department. So what should I do? If this is the data that I have, right? If I want to find the average salary in each department, first I have to collect everybody in that department. So in order to find average salary in each department, right? So now what I will do, if you have to do it manually, what will you do? You will first group all the records based on the department ID. So 10, then 3 Tim 2,300, 10. Then you have 2 Mary 2,000, department 20, and 4 Megan 1,000, department 20. So what did we do? What have we done? We have grouped the records based on department ID, right? So after grouping, so I have to find the average of salary for each group. So the query that I will write is select department ID and the average of salary from my EMP, right? This is what I want, but then I have to group it based on department ID. So now what will happen is it will first do this activity. It will first group the records based on department ID like we have done, right? So this happens first. Then it will look at the group function. This function will be applied on every group automatically. So it will automatically apply the average on this group. It will automatically apply the average on this group. And what will be the output? It will select a department ID and the average of this. Let us say that is 2,000. Then it will print the average department ID 20. And what is the average of this? 1,500 will be printed here. This is what we wanted. For each department, what is the average salary? Is it clear how it is grouping? How it is working? So it goes this way. First, it will group by whatever you told it to. So this arrangement it will do first. And then whatever group function you are mentioning, it will be automatically applied on each and every group that is created. How many departments are there in our company? Do you remember? There were 11 companies, 11 departments, I think, 10, 20, 30. How do we find? select distinct, yeah.
11, ma'am.
11 from my EMP. So now if I say group by department ID, how many groups will be created?
11 groups.
11 groups will be created, and whatever group function you apply will be applied on all the 11 groups, right? So let us try this. Let us select department ID, comma, average of salary from my EMP, but we want it to be grouped by department ID, right? So now you can see each and every, yeah. We don't need to give distinct here, Nitya, right? Because it will automatically take that group, right? It will say for this group of records belonging to department 10. So distinct is not required.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, will all the SQL queries run from the end of the command to this beginning?
Mostly,
Like this
yes.
one?
Mostly, yes. So if you remember your update command, right? Update, delete and all.
Yes, ma'am.
Update something, set something, where something, right? So first it will use the where to find the record. Then it will set the value of this in this particular table. So usually it goes like this.
Explain this particular command once again, ma'am.
This one, no, group by.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if you look at this example, right? So I want to find, this is the table that I have. I want to find the average salary in each department, or let's say I want to find the maximum salary of a person working in each department. In department 10, this is the maximum salary that is given, right? So if you have to manually do this, what you will do? If you are given an Excel sheet and you are asked to do this, you will first collect people belonging to each department separately. That is what you will do. And then you will find the average of those. So this is what is achieved by saying group by department ID. So whenever I say group by department ID, it will see how many departments are there, right? If there are 2 more people with the department 30, then a third group will be created. So it will collect everybody from department 10 in one place. It will group everyone from department 20 in one place, everyone from department 3 in one place. Once this grouping is completed, it will apply this group function. On which group will it apply? It will apply it on every group that is created. And then it will say for this group, this is the average salary. For this group, this is the average salary. For this group, this is the average salary. Right?
Got it, ma'am. Thank you.
Let me open that presentation. I think that picture. See, this is what happens, right? So let us assume that this is department ID and this is salary. So everybody belonging to one department is grouped together and the average function is applied on that group and you get one result for that group. Then you collect everybody belonging to the second department, 6, find the average. And for this group, you get one output. And everybody belonging to department 8, find the average of this. And you get one result for that group. So whenever you apply this group function, it will be applied on each group that is created. And you get one output per group. Right? Are we fine with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Can we take the let's go to the cats table, right? Select star from cats. Right. I want you to find the maximum weight of cats based on the breed. Right. Find the maximum weight based on the breed. So I want to know for the Persian breed, the maximum weight is something. For the this Siamese breed, this is the one, right? So like that. Okay. For each breed, right, I want to know what is the maximum weight. So if you look at the Persian cats, right, so the maximum weight is 5. If you look at the Siamese cats, the maximum weight is 6.1. If you look at these cats, this is the maximum weight. For each breed, what is the maximum weight? Yeah, Nitya Sagar. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Most people have got it right. How about you all? Done? What should I do? First, we have to group the cats based on the breed, right? And then we have to find the maximum weight. Right, so select maximum weight from cats, group by breed, right? So we will first group it by breed and then we will find the maximum weight. So select breed, max of weight from cats, group by breed. Right, for this breed, this is the maximum weight. For this breed, this is the maximum weight. Okay. So think of it like how you would go about it manually, and then you can write the query. Now coming to were you in an earlier class? Okay. I remember seeing you. Okay. So now, no. Yeah. So now what if I say group by followed by two columns. Let's say department ID, comma manager ID. Now what will happen? So whenever you say group by followed by two things, first it will group based on department ID, and within that it will group based on manager ID, right? So if you have data like this, right? So 1, Tom, 10, working under manager 100, 2, Mary, 20, working under manager 200, 3, Tim, 10, working under manager 101, 4, Jim, 20, working under manager 201, then 5, Hugh, 10, working under manager 101, 6, Pat, 20 working under manager 200, right? So 7, let's say George, 10 working under 100, and 8, somebody, James, 20 working under 201. Now, if I say group by department ID, comma, manager ID, how will you group this? You will first take everybody who's in department 10, right? So first you will group based on department. Then within this, you will group based on manager. Within 10, 100 and 100. These two people are working under manager 100, right? So who are they? Tom and George. Work under manager 100. And within 10, these two people, right? So Tim and Hugh. Tim works under manager 101 and Hugh works under manager 101. So first you grouped based on department, and within that you grouped based on manager, right? How about the next department? 20, department 20, there are 4 people, right? So in department 20, Mary and somebody. Mary works under 200 and Pat also works under 200, right? So Mary 200, Pat 200. Then under department 20 only, James and Jim, right? So Jim works under manager 201. James also works under manager 201. So within the department, you have grouped based on manager ID, right? So when you say group by department ID, comma, manager ID, first it will group based on department. And within department, it will group based on this. And then, of course, we have the salaries of these people, right? So 2,000, 3,000 and all. So those salaries will be taken. And now if I say, find the average salary, where will this average be applied? To which
Manager
group?
ID. On manager ID.
It will find the average for the lowest or the smallest group, smallest in the sense, the last group that is created. So this will be applied to this group. You will find one average. For this group, you will find another average. For this group, you will find this average. And for this group, you will find this average. So in this department, this manager, this is the average salary. For this department, this manager, this is the average salary, right? So automatically, so what is the command that I have to write? So I have to say, select. I want to select the department ID, then the manager ID, and the average salary, or it can be any group function, right? From my EMP, group by first department ID and then group based on manager ID. So this function called average salary will be applied to every the last level of group that is created. Okay. What if I have 3 columns? Within this, there will be a smaller group created, right? On that group, you will apply the average salary. We don't have to, MySQL will take care of doing that, right? So can you find how many people work under each manager in each department? I want to know, right? So in each department under each manager, how many people are working? Why would I want to know that? Maybe I want to see if a particular manager is overloaded or something, right? So I want to know how many people are there under each manager in each department from my EMP. Yeah, right. Shubham, I asked you to find how many people are there, right? Not the average salary. Under each manager, how many employees are there?
Ma'am, I have sent. Check it.
Akshay, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. But you have only grouped my manager ID, no? I want to
Yeah.
know under each department, under each manager, how many people are. Yeah, that is right. How do we write it? Instead of average salary, we have to just replace it with count of staff. Right? So let's try. We will select department ID, manager ID, count of staff from my EMP, group by department ID, comma, manager ID. Right? So what if I want to arrange this based on department? Now it is coming in random order, no? Huh. Where should I give order by? Last, right? So order should always be the last thing that you give, right? So order by department ID. Now you see 10, 20, 30, right? So order by should always be the last thing that you give, whenever you have multiple things like group by, order by, right? So order by should always be the last one. All right. Are we clear with this grouping? Okay. Which one? Order by, I just want to see if I don't have order by, right? I'm just seeing this departments in random order. See, I have department 90, then 60, then 100. I just want to see it as 10, 20, 30. So the result that you get will be finally ordered based on whatever. It will first do this and then it will do the ordering, right? So find this and then order it based on department ID. It'll just arrange it in this order, that's all. Okay. So now going back to this. Yeah, so what was this? We found the average salary of each department, right? So there are 11 departments and therefore we get 11 groups here. What if I'm not interested in all the groups? I only want to know the average salary of people in department 100 and department 70. What should I do then? I don't want to see all the 11 groups. I am only interested in 2 groups. How can I limit this? How can I select only 2 groups?
Select department ID, bracket, salary, comma.
There is no such.
Where? Using where clause?
Where, right? So normally what we will do, we will use the where clause. Where is used to filter out, where department ID is equal to this, right? So the thing is, if you are using group by and you want to select a particular group, right? So you have to use the having clause rather than where clause. Instead of writing where department ID is equal to something, right? So here you will say having DPID. I can write it just like my where clause, right? So I can say equal to, or I can say in, what was it, 170. So the way you write the condition is very similar to where, except you will say having. What is the difference between having and where? Where is used to select separate records. If you have done grouping and you want to select a specific group, you have to use having, right? So I'm selecting a group of records corresponding to department ID 10. So I have to say having department ID equal to this, right? So having is what you do to select groups. So this is for selecting groups. Okay. So this is one thing special about your group. There is one more thing that we need to keep in mind when you're writing your grouping statement, right? What can you select here? Here I have selected department ID and average salary. I have not selected anything else. I didn't select employee ID or first name or last name, right? So the reason is, if you are using group by, only what you are using here can be used here. And of course, the group functions. If I'm grouping by department ID, I can select a department ID. If I'm grouping based on manager ID and department ID, then what all can I select? So in this case, because I am using manager ID and department ID in the group by, I can select it in the select plus any group function. Other than this, I cannot select anything else, right? I think probably in your version, in the latest version, it is not giving any error. If you try to say select first name, right? Let's take this query, for example. This query, right? So what if you say first name here? I am selecting first name, comma, department ID, average salary. I will get an error. In your version, it is probably working. Can you try that? Say select first name, then department ID, average salary, group by.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Can you please explain the difference between where and having clause?
Yeah. Let's do this, right? And then we will go back to that.
It's showing an error.
So you are getting an error? Okay, I think one of the previous versions, it was an error. So this will not allow you to do that, right? If you think of it in a common sense way, can you tell me why this is giving an error? We can't? So if you have grouped records like this, right? So you have grouped based on department ID. You have grouped based on department ID. There are two people in this department, right? For this department, if I say group by department ID, for all records, there is only one department ID. So I can select this. Department ID is 10 for this group. But which name will you select for this group? There are 5 people in this department. Whose name will you select? It doesn't make sense, no? Right? Similarly, for all the records in this group, the department ID is 20. So I can put 20 here. But for this group, which name will I select? Right, so that is why if you're grouping by something, only the value based on which you have grouped, you can select. Because for this group, department ID is going to be the same. For this group, the department ID is going to be the same for all the records, so that I can select, right? So you need to remember that if you are using group by, only whatever you use in the group by can be used in the select also. Plus the group function. Anything other than that, if you try to select, it doesn't make sense, right? So it will give you an error. Okay. Right. Yeah. Where and having, right? So if you are using groups, so I have grouped by department, and this gives me some 11 groups. Out of these 11 groups, I want to select only the group corresponding to 10, right? And I want the group corresponding to 20. So if I'm choosing a group after having grouped it, I have to use the having clause. Having department ID is equal to 80 or something. But if I have not done any grouping, right? But I want to select people belonging to a particular department, I will just say select star from this where department ID is equal to 80. It will select all the people from this particular department, but internally no grouping is done. Okay. So if I say select where department ID is equal to 80, of course, it will return only those records where department ID is 80. But then internally, no grouping is done. It is just selecting that and it is showing to us. So where is used to select records when there is no grouping. Select records when no group by is applied. Here, having is used to select a specific group after you do the grouping. Is that fine?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I think Prasanna is saying he has got output. So earlier versions of this used to give this value, right? So it was allowing us to select, but it will randomly take some value and give it to you. But even if it allows, right? So it is not the right thing to do because it will be very misleading. So later versions, it has been made like an error. So you cannot even execute it, right? So whether it allows you or not, don't include anything other than whatever you have in the group by. Don't use anything in the select. This is fine. Are we clear with grouping? Right. Next thing we will see is how to get data from two tables. Right. We have been selecting data from one table, but now how to get it from multiple tables, right? So to do that, we have to join tables. So there are different ways in which you can join tables, right? So the first is you can do what is called an inner join. Then, yeah, left join. As far as MySQL is concerned, left join and left outer join are the same thing. Then you have something called the right join. Yeah. Or right outer join, it's the same thing. Then you have something called the self join. And the simplest join is the cross join. Okay, so this is what is supported in MySQL. Other databases support something called the outer join also, right? Although it is not currently supported, we'll see what this means. But not supported at the moment by MySQL, right? So let's see how to join tables. What do we mean by joining two tables? So in your database, there are two tables. One is called movies. Right, if you go to your database and you say select star from movies, you get a set of movies, right? And then there is a table called members, members. So you can think of it like a rental. Earlier there used to be, I don't know if it is there now, there will be shops which have many CDs. You take a membership and you can rent some CDs from them and you watch and return it, right? So I don't think anybody does that now. We don't even have CD players, no? Yeah. So, but let us say we still have something like that. So here you have a shop and you have 10 movies in your shop, right? And 8 people have taken membership from you. So if you look at this person, Alicia, right? So she has rented movie ID 1. Which is movie ID 1? Which movie has she rented? How do you know this? Assassin's Creed. But how did we know this? We looked at another table called movies. And then we saw that this is 1 and this is 1. And therefore, this is the movie that she has done. So unless we connect these 2 tables, we will not know which movie she has rented, right? So this is why we should join 2 tables, because mostly in real time, all your data will be split across multiple tables. If you remember the very first day when we talked about relational databases, how did we say it, why it is called relational? Every table will store something specific to a specific entity. Student table will have details about students, right? So the course table will have details about courses. The faculty table will have details about faculties. But then if you want to know everything about a student, like what courses he's taking, who's the faculty, which department. So if you want to get the full detail of a student, you have to connect multiple tables. You have to fetch data from multiple tables. Only then you get the complete information. This is how data will be always stored. It is very, very unlikely that you will select data from a single table when you start working, right? So when you are connecting 2 tables, we need to know how to connect it, right? And one more thing, we were able to connect it because there is something common between these 2. Right? There is one here, there is one here. Although the names are different, you are able to say that these 2 are the same. And then you are able to connect and say, this person has rented Assassin's Creed, right? Unless there is something common between these 2, you cannot fetch data, right? So you can't randomly connect any tables. You can't connect your higher secondary marks to stock market table. Is there any connection between these 2? Right, so there should be something common between these 2, only then you will be able to connect, right? So this is called the common column. These columns are the things that are connecting these 2. Right, so the movie ID column in the member table and the ID column in the movies table actually represent the same thing. So based on this, you can attach 2 tables, right? So what is it that you have to first identify? What is the thing that is connecting these 2? The column names can be anything, but functionally, if you see, these 2 are the same, right? So once you connect 2 tables, you have a joint table, right? Although you are not separately creating a table, you can virtually think of it as a joint table. So if I join these 2, how many rows and columns will be there in the joint table? How many do you think if I connect these 2, right? Obviously, I will have access to all the columns. All columns from both tables. Right? In this case, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 columns here and 3 columns here. So after I do a join, irrespective of what kind of join I do, the resultant table, virtual table, will contain 7 columns. There is no question about that. right? It doesn't matter what kind of join you are doing. If you join 2, you always have access to 7 columns. How many rows will you have? That depends upon the type of join that you're doing, right? It is not 10, right? So it depends upon what kind of join we do. So if you do an inner join, right? So what is an inner join? Let's say you have table 1 and table 2. After you do an inner join, you will have access to records which are common to both tables. In our case, which is the one that is common? How do we decide? Let's say table 1 is movies, table 2 is members. What are the common pages?
Movie ID.
Not columns. I'm asking which are the records. Did I say columns? Which records are common?
ID
1,
numbers.
2, 5, 8, 10.
1, 2, 5, 8, 10 are common. Why? You have 1 here, you have 1 here. This 2 doesn't have anything common inside this, right? So there is no record corresponding to movie 2 inside this. Oh, it is there. 2 is there, right? 3 you don't have, 4 you don't have, 5 is common to both, 6 is not there, 7 is not there, 8 is common to both, 9 is not there, 10 is common to both. So how many common records do we have? Totally 5 records. So if I do an inner join, then the resultant table will have 7 columns and 5 rows. What will be those 5 rows? You can think of your new table, right? So although it is not a separate table, but the resultant will be like you will have ID here, title here, category, right? So totally 7 columns we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what are the data that we will have? I will have 1 here, Assassin's Creed animation. Then 2, Real Steel. That is also animation. 5, Safe. That is an action movie. 8, Deadline. 18 plus. And 10, Marley and Me. That is a romance movie. So this is the resultant table that you will get once you join. So you can think of it as if you have a table like this. From this, whatever you want, you can select. You can say select first name, last name, and title, where category is equal to something. So if you have a table like this, whatever result you get, you will be able to take it. So although these are coming from 2 separate tables, you can assume that it is all in one place. You can select whichever column you want if you do an inner join, right? So this is what happens when you do inner join of these 2. Shall we try this? How do we write this? We will say select for the moment. Let's start select every column, right? So I'll say select star from, now from what? From where are we joining?
Movie.
Not just movies, we are selecting from a joined table, no? So we are selecting from movies inner join members. That is our table. Movies and members connected through inner join. Right, so from this we are selecting, but we should also say how we joined it. Right, so how did we join? On movie ID is equal to ID, right? We have selected those records where these 2 are the same. This is our common column. This is the condition based on which we have joined the table. So you can think of this as the name of your table. Okay, so this is this table. So we will select star from this. And if you want, you can give any where clause if you want, where category is equal to something, right? So from, what should I write? From movies inner join members on movie ID is equal to ID, right? So we are saying these two are the same. This is how we have joined it. So if you do this, what happened?
Madam, actually, you change the position. Movies, last members on ID is equal to movie ID.
That doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It's a spelling mistake. That order doesn't matter. I can say ID is equal to movie ID or movie ID is equal to this. I'm just saying they are equal. Right? So it doesn't matter the order. So this is what we saw. ID, title, and category from movies and member ID. So these are the 5 rows that we get if you do a inner join. Are we clear on what is getting selected? From this, if you want to select only animation category, right? So what I can do this and finally say where category is equal to animation, animations. Right, so imagine the virtual table that is created. From that, you can select whatever you want.
Excuse me, ma'am. Hello.
Yeah, tell me.
Can we rename the new table name?
No. It's not like it is creating a separate table. It is in memory, it is creating a joint version. That's all.
Okay.
You can create a table. We will create views on it rather than creating table, right? So we will talk about that when we talk about views. Otherwise, what will happen is you will end up wasting a lot of space, right? So table 1 will take up some memory. Table 2 will take up some memory. And the joined one will also take up double that size. Right, so instead, a better way to do that is to use what is called a view, which does not take up space. We will talk about views a little later. Right, but what you're asking is valid. It is really required to store it somewhere. Otherwise, every time you have to type this. But for the moment, let's understand what is a join. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Select star from movies. Inner join members on movie ID is equal to ID. Now here you didn't now execute. Next slide. That is okay. That is. Okay, so this is your inner join, right? Let's quickly see left join and right join if we have time. So what happens when you do a left join, right? So in this case, you have to decide what is going to be a left table and what is going to be a right table. Let's look at the syntax today, right? So tomorrow we will revisit it so that it becomes clear. So let's say table 1, you decide is the left table. Table 2, you decide is the right table. Now, if you do a left join, then it will select all the records from the left table and the common records from the right table. Right, so this is the common part from the right table. So if I create a left join between movies and members, let us select it once again so that we can see movies, members. Let us say I consider movies as my left table. And I consider members as my right table. If I do a left join, in the resultant table, how many columns will be there?
10.
How many columns?
7.
7.
7 columns. It doesn't matter what kind of join you're doing, you will always have access to all the columns. How many rows will be there? Because we are selecting everything from the movies table, we will end up having 10 records after doing a left join. But then what will be taken from the right table? Only records which are common from the members table will be taken. What is common? Here you have 1, right? Corresponding to 1, you have member ID 1, member ID, first name, last name, and then movie ID, right? So member ID 1, Alicia, I'm writing only one name, right? But last name is also there, movie ID 1. Corresponding to 2, what do we have? Corresponding to movie ID 2, you have member ID 2, Don Draper has rented movie 2. Corresponding to 3, do we have anything here? So we will get null values here. Corresponding to 4, nothing. So we will get null values here. Corresponding to 5, we do have something, right? Lissy Moss. So 3, Lissy, movie ID 5. 6, there is nothing. So null. 7, there is nothing. So null. 8, you have a record. So who has rented it? Eldon Chance. So 4, Eldon has rented movie ID 8. 9, there is nothing. 10 is rented by Jenny Patterson. So 5, Jenny has taken movie ID 10. So this is what you will get if you do a left join of movies and members by considering movies as the left table and members as the right table, right? So the syntax is very simple. Just replace your inner join with left join. I just have to replace this inner with the left, right? So how do I know which is the left and which is the right table? The first one, right? So the first one is considered to be left. This is considered to be the right. Or another way to think of it is, if you look at the join keyword, the table to the left of it is the left table, the table to the right of it is the right table, right? So now we have taken movies as the left and members as the right. And then if you execute it, we will see whatever we wrote down. I didn't change left. Oh, okay, I have given category. Let me take it out. Let's look at all the records. Yeah, so this is what we saw. Right. This is your left join. Can you quickly tell me what? Oh, we have time, 11:45. Sorry, 1:45. What will happen if I write a right join? Movies is my left table. Members is my right table. I do a right join. What will be the output?
From the right table, all the values will count.
Yeah, from the right table, all the records will be taken. From the left table, only the common records will be taken, right? So everything from members will be taken and only common records from left will be taken, movies will be taken. So how many rows and columns do I have now?
Number of columns will be 7.
Number of columns is going to be 7. Number of rows is going to be 8 because we are selecting everything from the left column. So corresponding to movie ID 1, I will have Assassin's Creed animation. Corresponding to 2, I will have Real Steel animation. Corresponding to 5, I will have safe action movie. Sorry, 5 safe. 5 save action, right? 8 deadline 18 plus, and 10 Marley and me romance, right? Here I will have null values. Right, so this is what will happen if I have a right join. Is that right? What is coming here? Is there a problem? Right. So I will get ID, title, category, corresponding to 1, 2, 5, 8, and 10. We do have values, right? Real steel, safe, deadline, and Marley and me. Animation, action, or whatever, right? So this is, and corresponding to this, there is nothing. So we will get null values here. So how do we write this? We just change left join to right join. So which is the left and right table here? Left is movies, right is members, right? So no change in that, because that is still to the left of this, right? So now everything from the right table will be selected. So we see 8 records. Wherever there are values for movies, we see those values. Otherwise, from the left table, only null will be selected. Okay. Fine. Okay. So now, if I say I have table 1, table 2, table 1 is my left table, table 2 is my right table, right? So now I say T1 left join T2. Then again, I have T2, which is the left table. T1 is the right table, right? Now I say T1 right join T2. What will be selected in this case? T1 left join T2, right? So everything from T1 and common from T2. All T1 common from T2. How about this? All from T1 and common from T2. Are these two the same? All from T1 and common from T2. These two are equivalent. So I can either say T1 left join T2, or I can say T2, okay, I should have written it wrongly, right? So T2 right join T1. T2 right join T1, right? So that means it is enough if you learn left join. Whatever you do with right, you can write with left itself, right? But there will be cases where you might need right join, but mostly anything that you can do with right join, you can do with left join itself. Only thing is you should be aware of what you're taking as left and what you're taking as right, right? So these two are actually equivalent. Now, the outer join, right? So although this is not supported, or let's look at cross join, which is simple, right? So left self join we will do tomorrow because it will take some time to do that, right? Cross join is one of the simplest joins and joins available. Here we don't need to have anything common, right? Cross join will just take one record from one table, connect it to everything from the other table. So let's say you have table T1, which has 3 records. Table T2 has 3 records. It will just take the first record, connect it to everything here, right? Then it will take the second record from here, connect it to everything here. Then it will take the third record from here, connect it to everything here. How many records do I have in the resultant?
9.
9
records, right? What if there are 10 records here and 5 records here? Totally, how many will I have?
50.
Right? So this is called Cartesian product. So it's also called a Cartesian join. That means every record from here is connected to every other record, right? So we'll take a small table which is there in your database. There is something called meals, star from meals, and you have a table called drinks. Now I want to create a combo offer where I'm giving all possible combinations, right? So that means I should be able to have omelette with tea, omelette with coffee, or I can have omelette with Pepsi, right? Then I should be able to have sausage with tea, sausage with coffee and Pepsi, or pancake with tea, pancake with coffee, and pancake with Pepsi, right? So to do this, all I have to do is to do a join, cross join. I don't have to worry about any common columns or anything. So I can just say select star from meals, cross join drinks. So I get all 9 possible combinations, right? So this is what you call a cross join. No need for any common columns. Just connect rows from both tables. But here, after joining this, you see there are 2 rate columns. After you join, you have a rate column here, you have a rate column here. What if I want to select this rate column? After joining, I can select any column I want, no? What if I want to select this rate column? Right, so here you have a conflict. If you say select meal name, rate, and drink name, it will say, I don't know which rate you want. There are 2 rates in this, right? You will get an error saying ambiguous column name. So if I say select meal name, rate, and drink name from meals cross join drinks. So now it says column rate in the field list is ambiguous. So that means I don't know which rate you want me to select. But what is it that we wanted to select? We wanted this rate, right? So from where is this rate coming? This is coming from the meals table. So what we can do is we can tell SQL that from meals table, take the rate column, right? You can say meals dot rate. Now it knows which rate column it has to take, right? So when do you land up with this problem? If the tables have the same name, if the joined table have columns with the same name, after joining, it will not know from where you want to select it. So here you have a conflict. So in that case, what you have to do? You have to prefix the column name with the table name. Okay. Now there is no confusion, right? We are saying select meal name and rate you select from the meals table. So you can see the price that you see is actually not of tea, it is the price of omelette, right? So these prices are not of coffee, this price belongs to the meal only. So from the meals table, we are selecting the rate column. So you can say meals dot rate. What if you want to see the drinks rate? Right? So this is how you can prefix a column name with the table name. But here also there is a problem, right? So normally when you see in real time, the table names will be very long, right? Your table names will be very descriptive. It will be like, we can take an example of sales, right? Underscore, sales underscore, quarter, first underscore, quarter underscore, transactions, right? This could be the name of your table. You could be joining this to sales underscore second underscore quarter underscore transactions. Let's say you are doing something like this. Most of the column names will be similar, right? So now what will happen every time you are selecting a column, let's say there are some 30 columns inside this and 30 columns inside this, right? And you want to select from 15 columns from here and 5 columns from here. What will happen? You have to type this big name dot something. Then the second column is this big name dot something. Writing becomes difficult, and also your query will become very cumbersome. You will not be able to understand what is what, right? So instead, what we can do is you can give an alias name, for tables also. Just like we had alias names for columns, you can have table aliases. You can just call it TFQ1 or TQF1 or first quarter. That is fine. This you can call it as TSQ, the second column, the second quarter. So now I can say TFQ dot some column name, right? TSQ dot some column name. So now I know that this column comes from this table, this column comes from this table, but I don't type the big name also, right? So one thing is, whenever you're joining tables, even if there is no conflict like this, you should always do this. Otherwise, your query will become unreadable, right? Your teammates will come and hit you. They will ask you, what is it that you have written, right? So this is a kind of standard. You should always go for aliases and always prefix all column names with the table names. So anybody reading your query will know these are the things you're taking from this table. These are the things that you're taking from this table, right? So how would you write it in this case? Okay. So now how should I write it? I will say select m dot meal name, right? M dot rate, D dot drink name, right? From meals as M, drinks, cross join drinks as D, right? The result is the same, right? Only thing is, this is how you should write your query. Can you, okay, do this and then we will. Again, when you're typing queries, please type it on multiple lines. Okay, I'm not doing it because I want to keep going up and down. Done. Anybody getting errors? If you find it difficult typing directly, you can also write it down in your notebook and then type. Right? Are we done? Okay. Huh. Get it.
The letters M and D are defined as a short name or alias? What is
It is a short name, alias name. I'm giving a short name as the alias. You can call it anything else, right? So I'm just calling it MND. You can call it whatever you want. That is the alias name for meals. How did we give alias names for columns? Salary star 0.2 as bonus, right? So similarly, meals as M. Actually, this as can be left out, but yeah. Shall we rewrite the left join that we wrote using all prefixes and all? Where is the left join? Yeah. Let's say I want to select first name, last name. Yeah. Or let's say I want to select the movie ID, title, then first name, first name, comma, last name, from movies, left join members, right? But then I want to write it with proper prefixes. So what you can do is, if you're quite comfortable with this, copy this, and then you put it in a notepad, or you can write it in a separate note or something. How do I open my text pad? Okay. What is it called? Okay. Are you able to see this? My Mac will sleep. So when you're writing, you write it like this. Each what do you say? Clause should be on a different, different line. On is a different clause, right? So this is the joining condition. This is the movies. This is members, right? So movies, let us give a alias name as MB, right? Members, we will give an alias name MM, right? So now here I have to say mm.movieid is equal to movie.mv.id, right? And here I have to say ID I am taking from movies table. Title also I am taking from movies table. First name and last name I am taking from members table. Right? So now anybody looking at it, it becomes very clear which columns are coming from which tables. Right? Even if you have not seen the tables, you can say these two columns are coming from movie table. These two are coming from members table. Right? So this is how you should write. Always split it on multiple lines, so that people reading it will have an easy time understanding. You can just copy this, paste it, and execute it. The result will be exactly same, right? This alias becomes very important when we go for self-join. Tomorrow we'll see self-joins, right? But this is important. Okay, let us stop here. Tomorrow we will discuss when we will go for left join, when we will go for right join, right? Or how to choose the left and right tables. And then we will look at the other joins. And then maybe we'll talk about constraints, which are again very important. Are we fine? Can we stop here? Okay. So I'm stopping for the day.